Issue 118. We started with Eggman complaining to Snively that it's taken weeks to build these new and improved bodies while they were bouncing around in inferior bodies. And finally without the virus that prevented him from downloading Knothole's location. Nicole, you idiot! You didn't delete the data on that? I thought it would have been child's play for a master hacker like her, but apparently no. What arbitrary conflict, that's just great. Deleting data isn't hard! You just press the backspace button, or simulate the pressing of it. I can't believe this. Just after they decide to wreck Knothole, someone threatens them off screen, and we see the freedom fighters all already here to attack them. How'd they know to come here? Then it turns out that they hand-waved away Eggman's roboticizing by touch power, as Nicole magically knows Eggman's current body can't do that even though his previous one with the tentacles could. Why he couldn't just send the ability to every new body, I'll never know. And the issue doesn't care to explain it either. Eggman brags that his metallic shell makes him immune to Sonic's blows, and after Tails pushes Snively, and then Nicole's readings tell Sally that trace particles left in the air indicate that Sonic, Tails, Eggman, and Snively have been transported, it turns out that they were all kidnapped by aliens. Just like Robotnik was. Only not in a giant ant farm this time, but in a more stereotypical way, with the whole group of stereotypical looking ones, so it feels more off for Sonic. Wait, first the aliens speak their own language, and then they arbitrarily start to speak English to each other? Because two of them are inorganic, the aliens decide to toy with them with an experiment where they switch up which ones are made of metal, and say that first they must defeat their enemies in combat, with the losers being trapped in their current incarnation forever because sadism. Come on, it's so obvious that the robots are going to win. They've got tougher skin and harder hitting hits. So is this a bullshit explanation for why Eggman and Snively become human again? Even though, why wouldn't they just roboticize themselves again after this anyways? Since they were enjoying the benefits of being robots, like their metallic shell not being hit by Sonic as well, and them being immune to the toxins of Robotropolis, which you know they're going to make a city with toxins in it again. But no, they are obviously never going to become robots again. I'd like to reiterate that I actually prefer Eggman being an android, because it makes a lot of sense with this whole technology industrialist guy who turns other people into robots feel. It makes sense that he'd prefer the benefits of being a robot instead of getting caught up in the ick factor. It explains why he hasn't been killed yet, accidentally or otherwise. It makes him more menacing and more capable on his own rather than just a normal old Batman when he's not behind a machine. But oh no, let's just fucking revert him back because that's how it was in the games. Never mind it being more boring and generic, and making him less contrasted against Bowser, who is not only organic, but an outright beast. If they were going to make Eggman human again, they could at least wait until they'd have a good excuse to make a wizard do it out of spite, like Ixis or Merlin. Instead, aliens out of nowhere? Their fight is going to take place in a hollow projected landscape of Robotropolis. The fight seems to start out with Eggman behind some missile-shooting mecha with Snively in the back. Wait, isn't this cheating? Why would the aliens give him access to this? Wasn't their whole experiment supposed to be to see who's stronger, robots or organics, when you'd think that it'd be fairly obvious? Either way, the explosive missiles get led to the mecha, breaking after Sonic says he's so gonna pay for whatever it is he did. I'm not sure why he was so attached to a holographic Robotropolis that I'm not sure how the aliens would even know about, since they just got here after Robotropolis was already destroyed. Naturally, Eggman gets tied up with a net that I guess the aliens provided too, and by provided I mean provided Sonic with the ability to generate one, and also provided Sonic with the ability to fire lasers. If the whole point of the experiment was to test who's stronger, robots or organics, then giving Sonic and Tails brand new powers they didn't have before kinda destroys the purpose of the experiment. It doesn't matter if they're robots or not. Of course they would win with those new powers. And Eggman snarks that this only proves that robots are superior to organics. Well, that doesn't mean we have to like them. Then we cut to Sonic and Tails back to normal at home, being disbelieved by Sally about the aliens, who says that they could just tell them that Eggman and Snively managed to sneak away. Fortunately, she seems to believe them after a little while later, since why would they lie about that? Which is good for her loyalty. Sally says that if they're back to being humans, that means that they could be anywhere, and if Eggman's flesh and blood, there's no way to track him. Track him? So it looks like another one of Nicole's bullshit powers is that she can track any technology ever. You know, you could just have her be a wizard who has technology powers and just looks like an AI computer. That would have made more sense. Sonic says that they don't know when he'll strike next, and we end the story with Eggman laughing maniacally with fire behind it for some reason, looking menacing. In the next story, we're reminded that Jeffrey and his elites were seeking medical treatment from bloodstream nanobots for months, and now thanks to Rotor's stasis tubes, they've been cured in under an hour. Why didn't he just go to Rotor to begin with? And I thought Dr. Quack always had stasis tubes, like the one that saved Sally. So did he run out and needed Rotor to make more? Rotor explains that he figured that if Eggman had infected their bodies with nanites, then some other nanites would be able to defeat the evil ones. Well, duh. It kind of looks like Sally's giving Jeffrey a kiss on the forehead in this panel, which annoyed me a lot at her cheating, but she's talking to him, so that can't be possible. Bad angle, I guess. Then after Jeffrey blames himself for the nanite infection, when if he hadn't recruited Heavy Bomb, they would have had no one to break them out of that cell, reprogrammed or not, he wastes a lot of comic space with pointless recap. Wait, then he says that his ego is what caused him to be infected, because he wanted to prove he was every bit as capable as the guy who can run all across the planet multiple times really quickly without much effort. Now I get why he's blaming himself, because it was his idea to send his team and him to Robotropolis in the first place. He then continues to show self-awareness and guilt for once, by admitting that every bit of advice he gave the prince was self-serving and useless. He says, "I failed Prince Elias, I failed the kingdom, I failed my father's memory. I'm not returning to active duty, Hershey, because I don't deserve to." This causes Hershey to reassure him that even if he makes mistakes, he's still a hero, and that's why she fell for him, and kisses him. Jeffrey then requests a leave of absence with her from the royal family, during which they will travel the globe in search of Elias. That's not a leave of absence, because they're still doing work for the king. That's more like a mission. The king points out that they'd be disrespecting the prince's wishes by doing that, as he specifically asked them not to do so, saying that he couldn't stand the thought. But never mind, he grants the request anyways. Then why do you even bother saying that? The final story. Oh, Mammoth Mogul has a chaos siphon chamber, okay. Then it's actually explained how he has this technology. Mogul encountered Dimitri back when he originally designed the siphon. Knuckles proceeds to get furious with him, and all the way in Harry's room, the Chaotix Harry and the Constable can see green flashes of light where Knuckles must be. If they can see it from that far away, I'm surprised they aren't going blind. Or getting radiation poisoning or something. This getting mad and thus using powers of that thing was at least foreshadowed. It doesn't come out of nowhere to me. We see a Dark Legionnaire reporting to Leander minimal damage to the airship and strong chaos energy readings where Dimitri and Knuckles probably are. After Mogul presses the buttons to try to terminate Dimitri, Knuckles, despite calling Dimitri a rat, insists on saving him, and runs into the Chaos Siphon Chamber. Knuckles complains that it feels worse than last time, naturally since it's a whole room instead of just one small device. And his only chance is to go into overload mode. With no regard for himself, he expends more energy than he ever has, resulting in a force witnessed by many, including his loved ones, who he's doing this to protect. We cut to the Constable, who says that the whole neighborhood they're in is a disaster area, and Landa shows up to people's dismay, saying that she's here to see Dimitri. The Constable agrees because Knuckles was also worried about him, and she thinks to herself that he has no idea who he's dealing with. Dimitri tells her not to worry about him and look for Knuckles, who he says "oh no" about. Dimitri says that if it weren't for Knuckles, he wouldn't be here. Meanwhile, we cut to a counselor saying that Knuckles missed the rededication ceremony, whatever that is, and Lara tries to stand up for him. Apparently it's a ceremony that involves honoring one of Knuckles' ancestors. The counselor says that he and a whole crowd of people in front of him are gathered here in recognition of the return home. And as a tribute, the floating island shall be renamed Angel Island, finally, after Angela, the mother of Edmund, the first Guardian. So why did it take them this long to do that? And what's so special about her that she deserves to have the island renamed after her? I mean, she's not a Guardian herself. Then he gets handed a note and reveals to the crowd that Knuckles has supposedly fell in the line of duty. Even if I didn't already know he would be alive in later issues, I'd still not believe this for a second because he's one of the main characters of the franchise. They'd never permanently kill him off. So anytime this kind of plot point is used, it's stupid, treating its audience like gullible morons. The first story was by Carl Polis. Oh boy. He's normally a great writer, but the aliens being all cliched in their appearance and mannerism was not only overly on the just sci-fi side of things, when it's not supposed to be more towards a fantasy area of sci-fi fantasy. But they also had no proper reason to be villains. They just make this whole competition just for an experiment that they should already know the answer to. It was obvious that the robots in the fight would win from the very beginning. Eggman shouldn't have been supplied with a giant mecha, since I think the whole point of the fight was to prove whether or not technology would prevail over organics. And if they absolutely had to make Eggman a boring human again, they could at the very least make it be because a wizard like Ixis did to spite him. Instead, aliens show up out of nowhere, and he's, for no reason whatsoever, never going to roboticize himself again. I have a feeling this is the kind of thing that game purists laugh at the comic for. They didn't even have to do this. Eggman looked just like he does as a human, as an android. What's the difference? As an android, he's allowed to be attacked with greater force by the heroes because he'll just come back anyways, making him a more competent villain. He's taking advantage of his techno-genius side more, and he's more menacing. But no! Being an android is too weird for a series about a 3-foot-tall hedgehog. Also, they removed his really threatening touch robotization power with a hand wave that's in a different body, even though he just proved that he could put it in a different body when he tried to roboticize Drago. I don't like it. It was predictable and weird. The second story was by Carl Bullers, and after Jeffrey and the elites get healed months later than they logically should have, Jeffrey wastes our time with a recap and then shows actual guilt and self-awareness for once, although still not apologizing to Sonic, prompting Hershey to finally get together with him, and prompting him to, rather than leave the Secret Service in disgrace for doing a grand total of one useful thing in several months, he disrespects the prince's wishes by trying to go find him. By the way, I have to wonder where Elias could have possibly gone that was safe other than Knothole and Angel Island. Station Square? If he's just wandering with no safe place to live, maybe it's a good thing that they're going to look for him. But I just hope the king won't try to usurp Sally's authority again just because Elias will be back. She just got it back. So, I like that Jeffrey showed guilt for once. That's good. The final story, by Ken Penders, has Mammoth Mogul provoke Knuckles into using his full force in the Chaos Siphon Chamber to save Dimitri. I'm guessing that's how Mogul gets some of his power? And Knuckles doing this risks his life by putting himself into Overload. Pretty bullheaded considering his life is obviously more valuable than Dimitri's. And the story ends with the implication that he died. Yeah, right. Permanently? The audience was going to buy the next issue anyway, so why do they think they have to lie to us like that? They can't permanently kill off a main character. Also, they finally start calling the island Angel Island, and it has got its name from something other than Christian mythology. So it's nice actually averting an unnecessary reference to it from the Echidna stories for a change. But I don't see why they decided Angela was worthy of having an island named after her.